What is happening, everybody? Greg Ehrenberg here from Stokastic.com, and I've got a few fun things to go over with you guys today. And if you're watching, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have any questions for me at all over the course of the show, it's just me here by myself, and I love to interact with you guys. So if there's anything that you see on the screen that you want to ask me about, whether it comes to our simulation tools that I'm going to be going through over here, if you want to talk about OwnersBox, who is sponsoring the show, we're going to be talking about some of their contests for the upcoming week. Throw it into the YouTube chat, and I am definitely going to be able to respond to you guys during the course of this show. But let's talk about all the different aspects, different moving parts here. First off, OwnersBox, new DFS site, and they have SuperFlex contests for football. So this is something that is way different from what you're seeing on DraftKings or FanDuel. The scoring is also a hybrid of the two sites. We'll go over the scoring settings here in a second. And then also, we're supporting it in all of the tools we have over at Stokastic.com. So we've got projections for it. We've got ownership projections. In addition, they're included in the new tools we have at the site, the contest generator. So you could build lineups for OwnersBox right here on Stokastic.com, and then you could also export them right over to the contest simulator, and you could simulate all those lineups, have them play against them also for OwnersBox here. So it's included. Everything that we have on our site for FanDuel, DraftKings, it's also included here for OwnersBox. So we're going to run through all of that, and I'll build out some lineups for you guys to take note of, and I think it's also a cool way for you to see what is going on here at OwnersBox in terms of the data, how you could build lineups using the projections and everything we have at Stokastic.com. But in addition to that, if you are signing up at OwnersBox, use the link below in the description box, because you're going to get a couple of things when you sign up at OwnersBox. First off, your first deposit matched up to $500. So you get $500 up to for free when you sign up at OwnersBox for the first time. And then also, when you sign up, that's going to get you one free month of our NFL package. 1 month totally for free. And that offer is only going to be good until this Sunday. Past this Sunday, you only get 1 week free of our data package when you sign up at OwnersBox. So if you're looking to sign up, now is the time to do it to get yourself an extra month. And we've got some questions in the YouTube chat here. So first thing I want to do first is I'm going to start building out some lineups. I'll build 10,000 of them here for the main slate at OwnersBox. It'll only take like 60 seconds to build. We'll do it on screen. But we'll start getting that rolling while I answer you guys' questions. First off, David Porter says, wondering what I think about a naked field stack. As the week goes on, I'm liking it more and more. So, David, I'm going to say it depends what contest you're playing in. And if you wouldn't mind, just respond to me and say, like, how large a field of a tournament are we talking about? Is this, a head-to-head? Is this a cash game? Or is it like the Millie Maker? Because I've been doing a good amount of research and playing around with our Sims tool. And for large field tournaments, I think it's very unoptimal to play in unstacked quarterback. So it's going to depend on that. But here is kind of the way that the lineups that I built are done being made right here for OwnersBox. So we could throw them into the simulation tool here in a second. But anyway, David Porter. So I had been running some experiments with different stack exposures in our Sims tool here, because one thing you could do when you're building lineups in the contest generator is you could set what percentage of stack types you're going to get. So, you could go QB +1, QB +2, QB +3. That's in terms of how many of their skill position players from their team that they're going to be combined with. And what I did is I made about an equal amount of each stack type to kind of find out if I'm simulating a large field tournament, what are my odds of each one being my best lineup? So when I ran lineups where it was like 25% unstacked lineups, 25% QB +1, 25% QB +2, 25% QB +3, of my 300 top projected ROI lineups, only 2 of them were unstacked QBs. So if you're playing in the largest of field tournaments, I really recommend that you do not run naked lineups for that reason. And right there, David Porter says this is the 4,444, only 768 entries. Yeah, so if you're running something that's that small, only a 768 entry field, I think that's more reasonable to play an unstacked QB. But in something that's going to be like the Millie Maker that is like 1.2 million entries, I wouldn't play an unstacked quarterback for that. Less than 1,000 entries, yeah, totally cool. Don't have an issue with that kind of settings. Now we've got here from William Bartholomew wants to know, does the OwnersBox offer with the free month of Sim apply to former Stokastic subs or only new ones? Anybody at all. If you sign up at OwnersBox for the first time, that's the only thing. You just have to be signing up at OwnersBox for the first time. As long as you're new to OwnersBox, when you sign up using our link, and like I said, there's one below that you just click on to sign up for, use that link, and that will get you the 1 free month of our data package, our max data package. So the one difference that we have, or there's two differences between our base data package and our max data package. The base data package, you could build up to 500 lineups in the contest generator. In our max data package, you can build up to 10,000 lineups in the lineup generator. And then when you simulate out those lineups, you could export all of them if you wanted to on our max data plan, but you can only export up to 20 of them if you're on our base plan. So those are the two different options. And William, if you do sign up for OwnersBox, you get 1 free month of the max data package as long as you're new signing up to OwnersBox. But anyway, let's look through some of the different OwnersBox projections. And like I said, this is a SuperFlex site. So you could play 2 QBs in individual lineups over on OwnersBox and the scoring settings, because I said I was going to bring those as well. This is where it's like a hybrid of the DraftKings and FanDuel scoring, because it is a full point PPR. It's full point PPR like DraftKings, but there's no bonuses. There's no 300-yard passing bonus. There's no 100-plus bonus or anything like that for rushing or receiving yards. So that's where it's kind of like a hybrid of DraftKings and FanDuel. You're going to get 1 point for every single 25 passing yards. Also, you get 1 point for every 25 return yards. Not that we're going to go out and we're going to be rostering you like punt returners or something, but it's definitely something in play. If, let's say, you were rostering like a Tyreek Hill and he's a big punt return late in the game, you do get 0.4 point. You do get a point for every 25 return yards. You're going to get 1 point for every 10 rushing or receiving yards, same as FanDuel and DraftKings. You get 4 points for every passing touchdown. Like I said, full PPR, where you get 1 point for every reception. Rushing or receiving touchdown is worth 6 points. 2-point conversions worth 2 points, and then a turnover. So interception, fumble loss, that is going to be negative 1 point. Some other questions that we have here in the YouTube chat. First from Liam Porteous. He says that he's new to SuperFlex NFL. He wants to know, should the SuperFlex be 100% QB? And if so, should both QBs be part of a stack in GPP? So let's just build out some lineups. So I've already built out lineups. Let's simulate some of these, and we'll see what portion of them end up being double stack lineups in terms of like the SuperFlex being a QB, the normal QB also being that. So I think the big contest on OwnersBox pays out, let's see, what is it? 50K to first, and it pays out 20% of the prize pool overall to first place. So let's just run it under the same payout structure we're assuming that tournament is going to be, because if you look at the sim tool, you can select different payout options. The reason that this is going to be important is because a contest that is super top heavy and plays out a third of the prize pool to first place is going to give you different results in terms of the projected ROI of each lineup than if you're simulating contests as 5% to first place. So it's going to simulate all of this out for us right now in terms of those lineups I just ran. But anyway, more questions here. We had, Liam's question should be 100%. I wouldn't say 100% SuperFlex QB, but the majority of these lineups I'm fairly confident are going to be leaning towards SuperFlex in the QB. Then David Porter, another follow-up, says he downloaded, hasn't deposited yet, but he's really liking OwnersBox so far. The look, the contest, the payouts look good. A lot of overlay looks like. It looks like there could be a good amount of overlay. So as of right now, there are actually less than 1,000 entries in the big contest. We have, let me see what we're at right now. Big flagship contest for OwnersBox on Sunday. Let me see if I could find it on the site. Yeah, about 900 entries right now out of 15,978 or something like that. So yeah, it does look like right now, if you're asking me, is OwnersBox going to overlay or not? I'm going to say it looks fairly likely to overlay. Certainly more likely to overlay than not. All right. Favorite the top 150 lineups. We could look at some of these. And to answer your question there, Liam, about the double stack, if we look through these lineups here, stack, anything you see that is multiple stacks means that it's a double stack because we got 2 stacks in it. So of my top 150 lineups, there's some just Cincinnati stacks in here, but that's what, 4 or 5 of Miami stack. What's up? Hey, we got Nick Lepre in the chat. I feel like we summoned Dolphin stacks when Lepre showed up, because if you guys aren't familiar with Nick Lepre, by the way, he's been crushing on his YouTube channel. I saw Lepre, big stuff. I saw you posting about all of the subs you've gotten. Big Miami Dolphins fan, Lepre. And as soon as he showed up in the chat, I was scrolling through my lineups. So we got some Miami stacks here. But almost all of these lineups of my top 150 do include a QB in the SuperFlex spot. It's not 100% of them, but just kind of eyeballing it, Liam, it looks like we're getting to something like, let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's like 75% of my lineups here ended up having quarterbacks in the SuperFlex spot. We've got Strammy10 in the YouTube chat is asking, how do you actually redeem the free month? Yeah, so here's what's going to happen. Once you sign up through our link, you end up getting an email that comes from us with a code, and it's also going to have a link to our site. And you just go to our site, you input that code, and then it gives you the free month. That's how you redeem it. Josh D saying, what's up, Screech? What's up, Josh? By the way, I'm very happy that I'm getting compared to Screech as opposed to the guy from That 70 Show. Who's doing who, by the way, I do look frighteningly alike, and he just got sentenced to 30 years in prison. So I should get a haircut so I don't look too much like him anymore. DFS 28 saying, appreciate the content, Greg. May have to try out The Sims this weekend. I'm excited for it, man. So I've been testing these tools for a pretty considerable amount of time. I've been using them for baseball all year. So I've been really looking forward to football season coming out, mostly so that I can actually, number one, I like doing content based around these tools. I also want to play in contest with them as well. And then David Porter says, it's ridiculous. If you aren't entering these contests in OwnersBox, like you don't like money. Yeah, true. I mean, these do look like they're going to overlay a pretty good amount. And then we've got, let's see, some more questions in the YouTube chat. We've got, oh yeah, Liam saying, thanks. Honestly, surprised it was only 75%. Yeah, still the vast majority of these lineups are going to be SuperFlex at the QB at the SuperFlex. But let's look through some of the top projected lineups. And one thing I'm really interested in is to find some lineups, because my favorite game to stack this weekend is the Chargers and Dolphins game. If you guys look at the other tools we have on the site, which are all still here, stuff like, just the top stacks tool, the top showdown plays tool, like we have all that stuff. And if you do look at our top stacks tool for the week, we have the team with the overall best odds being high scoring stack is the Cincinnati Bengals, but second is the Chargers and third is the Dolphins. So I really, really like that game as an overall game stack. So point being here, I want to get is I'm curious to see if we have some lineups in here that are Chargers, Dolphins stacks, and if that works within the pricing at OwnersBox, because I think those are really, really high upside for this week. But anyway, our highest projected lineup here is a Colts Dolphins double stack. So let's see, we've got Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman as a stack option, then Tua with Tyreek Hill, and then also, Zach Moss is also in the lineup as a stacking option with Anthony Richardson, which I do think it kind of makes sense, right? Because I think Zach Moss is like fairly likely to be a pass catcher for the Colts this year. I don't mind including him in stacks. And then we've got Strammy saying, again, didn't realize I was a little behind, but thank you, Greg. Yeah, no problem, man. And I hope that helps you. If you have any other questions, you could hit me up on Twitter, and I could definitely help you out with any issues you have. But it should be pretty seamless. We've got everything working in terms of getting people to claim their free months. So that's our top projected lineup there. Anthony Richardson, Tua as a SuperFlex double stack. Let's look at some exposures. Who are our most rostered players? All right, so number one overall most rostered player is Justin Herbert. We also have ownership projections in here for OwnersBox ownership. And we've got Justin Herbert, who is expected to be the chalkiest player on the slate, project for 31% ownership. He's showing up in 54% of our lineups. So our most rostered player is Justin Herbert. We also get into a lot of Joe Burrow. Yeah, here he is, Joe Burrow. So I was going to say, Tyler Boyd is here. Irv Smith Jr. is here. So we are getting to Joe Burrow and Bengals stacks. Who are we stacking most with Herbert? All right, let's scroll down. All right, so Keenan Allen is in 18% of lineups. Gerald Everett is in 17%. Here's Eckler. I don't mind Eckler as a stacking option with Justin Herbert at all this week, especially because you got, I know like we don't really kind of mention with Zach Moss before too. We don't always think about running backs as being stack viable with QBs, but guys like Austin Eckler are going to be very involved in the pass game, I do think it makes sense to have lineups where he's being stacked with Herbert. But anyway, it looks like we have a pretty wide array of stacks with Herbert. It's not like there's one guy that's showing up predominantly, whereas like our Joe Burrow stacks, we're actually getting to a lot of Irv Smith and a lot of Tyler Boyd here. Other players, where are the pay-up options we're getting the most of? Josh Jacobs is in 39.3% of the top 150 lineups here. Chris Olave is in 26%. Tyreek Hill is in 22.7%, which also, it's just going to correlate really nicely with Justin Herbert, even though it's not the player he's going to be throwing to. Same game, so it does make for a good game stack, like I mentioned before. My favorite game to stack on the entire slate. Let's see if I sort by leverage. Are there any low-owned players that we're getting a good amount of? All right, so in terms of players that are projected for single-digit ownership, we've got Curtis Samuel projected for 9.8%, end up getting to him in 19.3% of my top lineups. Zach Moss, Jamar Chase, overweight to him as well. So Bengal stacks, it wasn't only Tyler Boyd and Irv Smith Jr. that were popping up, also are overweight here to Jamar Chase, which is good to see. It's going to be really scary to have a bunch of Joe Burrow lineups and not have like Jamar Chase or T. Higgins in them and just be relying on Tyler Boyd and Irv Smith Jr. doing the damage. Who are we underweight to? Who are we underweight to? Underweight to Demarcus Robinson. He's projected for double-digit ownership over on OwnersBox. Javonte Williams. If Javonte Williams is going to be relatively chalky come Sunday, I think he is somebody that makes sense to go underweight to the field to, and he's projected for 15.6% ownership on OwnersBox, which makes him what? The sixth most rostered running back on the site. If he's going to be that popular, he missed almost all of last year coming off the brutal knee injury, right? Torn ACL, had the surgery. And even though it seems like he's ahead of schedule, I find it very unlikely that Javonte Williams is just going to get the full go workload right out of the gate in week one. So with that in mind, if he does end up being chalky, he does make sense to be underweight to the field too. Coming underweight to the field on Ben Skoranek as well. And how shitty is that Rams situation? No Cooper Kupp to start the year. The rest of the offense kind of sucks. I don't know what the deal with Matt Stafford is in terms of, obviously he was great when they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. He looked terrible last year. He was also dealing with injuries. There is a chance that Matt Stafford is just kind of washed right now. If that is the case, it's going to be hard to trust any of these guys. And, Ben Skoranek is not showing up in any of my best lineups here. Kind of funny because we had David Porter before asked in the chat, and he followed up. By the way, I see David just posted in that he's also staying away from Williams this weekend. Justin Fields, particularly for what we're building here in terms of a somewhat top-heavy lineup on OwnersBox, 15,000 entries or close to 16,000 entries in their flagship contest, where I do really think we want to be stacking. So ended up coming in underweight to the field on Justin Fields, primarily for that reason, related to the comment that we got about David Porter before asking if I like Justin Fields unstacked in tournaments, not for large field tournaments, but definitely do like it for the smaller fields like he had mentioned. Now let's see what else we have in here of note. Underweight to the field on Hawkinson. I'm not sure what tight ends did we get to other than Irv Smith? We got to TJ Hawkinson at, this is the projected ownership. Let's see. What is our exposure? All right. So we got to Irv Smith Jr. the most. Who else do we have at tight end? Gerald Everett was popping up in a good amount of lineups. TJ Hawkinson, but still underweight to the field on him. Yeah. So primarily the guys that building around a tight end here, Gerald Everett and Irv Smith Jr. right now. Let's look at the stack exposures. So if we're making single QB stacks, the ones that we got to the most in order on OwnersBox, it is Justin Herbert, then it is Tua, and then Geno Smith. In terms of double stacks, we got to Burrow the most. Kind of interesting, right? So we got to Joe Burrow a lot overall, but primarily it's double stacks. And even some of the triple stacks here, we have more double stack lineups of Joe Burrow and triple stacks than single stacks. So that's where we're seeing more correlation there. So double stacks, Joe Burrow the most, followed by Justin Herbert, and then Kirk Cousins. And then for triple stacks, not as many of these showed up as being optimal, but a good amount of Joe Burrow, if anything. And once again, if you guys have any other questions, we've got a good amount of people here watching. If you haven't done it yet, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're interested in all the tools that I'm showing right here on screen, 1 month totally for free of our NFL Max data package when you sign up at OwnersBox using the link that we have below. So go check that out. Also at OwnersBox, you're going to get up to a $500 bonus on your first deposit when you sign up using that link, and you deposit up to $500 coming back to you for free in the OwnersBox box. So what do you guys want to talk? Do you want, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'll run through the Showdown slate for tonight for OwnersBox. But if you have other main slate questions, we could talk about that as well. But yeah, one thing I want to see, what is our worst projected lineup? All right, sort by, here we go. The worst lineup that we ended up building in here for OwnersBox, it was, so it's 2 QBs that were unstacked, CJ Stroud, Kirk Cousins. So yeah, this one had a negative 96.4% simulated ROI. So the simulated ROI, by the way, is just all these lineups I built. They play against each other 40,000 times in the payout structure of whatever the tournament is that you select here. And these were some of our worst ones that ended up showing up. By the way, Liam followed up, said thoughts on game stacking with both QBs. I really like it as long as it fits within the salary restraints. Like, obviously can't go above the salary cap anyway. But one thing I noticed when I was looking at some of those lineups is wasn't really getting to as many of the Chargers Dolphins game stacks I would have hoped to. But I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that Herbert's expensive. Tua's somewhat expensive. Tyreek Hill's pretty expensive. Keenan Allen's pretty expensive. So it just kind of made it a thing where it was maybe a little bit harder than some of the salary constraints. But overall, Liam, if you have the ability to do game stacks with both QBs, one in the QB spot, one in the SuperFlex spot, yeah, I think you want to go do that. It adds more correlation. Josh D wants to know why OwnersBox over DraftKings. Why not both? At least for this weekend, I think the number one reason you want to play on OwnersBox is, well, I'll say a few reasons. Number one, deposit bonus of up to $500. You're not going to be getting that kind of free money from DraftKings. Another thing, too, is I think their main contest is going to overlay. That's another way to make some money. And then also, you get 1 free month of our NFL package when you sign up there. So I'd say those 3 reasons are main reasons to be playing at OwnersBox right now. Let's do the same deal now. Build out 10,000 lineups for the Showdown contest tonight over on OwnersBox. We got the Detroit KC game. And I haven't seen if there was any news updates on Travis Kelce in the last few minutes, but our data is expecting Kelce to be out. That's where a lot of the reports were kind of leaning towards. And also something else that we saw earlier is that Matt Bushman got called up from the practice squad. So my expectation, and also how we have the projections in our data right now, is that we are not expecting Travis Kelce to play. We're expecting him to sit. So anyway, just built out the 10,000 lineups. Let's simulate them. And let's go like really top heavy. So we'll go 30% payout to first place and simulate out the Showdown contest and see what ends up popping up right here. And David Porter following up and said, OwnersBox already looking better than FanDuel. Maybe not DK, but that's a high bar. You know, part of it's a matter of preference as well. I like diversifying just what it is that I have my dollars in for DFS purposes. So if I have, you know, if I'm playing on FanDuel, I'm playing on DraftKings, I'm playing on OwnersBox, I'm going to have a diversified portfolio just from the sense that I'm going to get to different players on different sites for different reasons, different pricing, different scoring. There's all different factors that are going to come into play that's going to change the exposure we get across different sites. All right, so let's see what we have here. Favorite the top 150 lineups. Something else that's really cool about single game contests in our contest generator and Sims tool is we have a way to incorporate dupes into this. So when you look at this dupes column, for instance, based on how popular certain lineups are going to be, we're going to build out multiple of them in the contest generator so that when you simulate the slate out, this will impact the projected ROI of these lineups. So if we go and we sort by dupes here, you'll see that some of these lineups are going to be duped massive times, and that's going to impact what it is that will the projected ROI will be for these lineups. But anyway, our top projected lineups for that reason are ones that are not duped all that heavily. So there are some lineups, like that one was duped 140 times. But if you look at our top lineups here, like our number one projected lineup is Goff, Marvin Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sky Moore. So it's actually a Detroit Lions stack that's leaving some salary on the table. But the reason it's showing up so well at the top here is because it's a unique lineup, which is always going to be beneficial for a single game format. It's really hard to build unique lineups, especially good unique lineups. If we go ahead here and look at our exposures, a ton of Patrick Mahomes in the captain spot. Patrick Mahomes, way overweight to the field. So we have Patrick Mahomes projected for 30% captain ownership on OwnersBox, and we ended up with him in 64% of lineups. Let's see in the flex spot. Where do we have flex? It's probably going to be, where is he? Patrick Mahomes. Well, either way, so we have Patrick Mahomes, by far most rostered captain, showing up in 64% of captain lineups here on OwnersBox, and then 35% of Jared Goff. So almost all of the lineups are going to be quarterbacks in the captain spot. 35% Goff, 64% Mahomes. Some other questions that we have here. We've got Sean V saying Ehrenberg 2024. And then Liam saying he could only be SuperFlex. Oh, for you mean for the captain spot? What can only be SuperFlex? I'm not following whatever the comment is. Anyway, Patrick Mahomes here. We have in, I see what you mean. In terms of the captain spot, it can only be the quarterbacks. Gotcha. All right, I'm following. Yeah, so that's why there's no, okay, yeah, misunderstood what you meant there. Yeah, so the quarterbacks, only captain plays, can't be flex. So one of the reasons that I do think the ownership might be a little bit lower for that as well is just because, if you want to play other guys in the captain spot, then you're just not getting to them, I guess. But hey, I mean, the data is what the data is here. Other players that we're getting a lot of exposure to, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. So one thing that I think is a pretty interesting way to diversify some lineups is you guys will see here, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, two of our four most rostered players. Because of how I expect the Lions to utilize each of these guys this season, and a lot of this is projecting, looking at Coach Speak, where we saw this week the Lions put out statements that we're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs in ways that you have never seen running backs be used before. I read that as he's going to be used a lot as a wide receiver. He's going to be running a lot of routes. He's going to be used as a slot receiver. With that in mind, I do not have an issue playing Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery together, and I do not think the public is generally going to want to do it. So no matter what site you guys are playing on today, I think that it's a good way to differentiate your builds to get lineups that have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs together. And now also we've got Nate D saying, is this legal in Ohio? I'm pretty sure they operate in Ohio. I'm fairly sure anywhere that like DraftKings and FanDuel operates, OwnersBox should as well. We've got a follow-up here from Random saying, do you need to add Fantasy Cruncher if you have the Sims Max package? No. You could build all of your lineups right in our contest generator. You no longer need Fantasy Cruncher to use our Sims tool. This is something that we can do all in-house now because of the contest generator. So I only have like 30 seconds left to go here before we're done for the day. But guys, if you could do me a favor, you haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll be on the MLB show tonight as well with Josh Engelman. Going to be a shorter one because we have an early MLB lock. But to answer the question that Random had before, you no longer need a subscription to Fantasy Cruncher. Like if you want to use Fantasy Cruncher, cool, go ahead. But now that you could build lineups on our site, you do not need it to use the Sims tool. You can build your lineups right on our site and then upload them to the Sims tool from there. We've got Sean V saying, Coach also said that Gibbs might not see a full workload. Yeah, but I mean, it's a single game slate though, and he's still somebody with a lot of upside. And there's a good amount of value on the slate now that Travis Kelce is likely to be out. So we've got, some cheap pass catching options for the Chiefs that are good value plays really on whatever site you play on. A question here from Matthew Simonson said, what are the biggest perks for having the Sims Max package instead of the normal Sim? Sure. So if you're building lineups in the contest generator, the base package you build up to 500, the max package you build up to 10,000. And then when you're exporting lineups from the Sims tool, you could export as many of those lineups as you want after you simulate them out. And the most you could export if you were on the base package is 20. So it depends how much volume you ultimately end up playing. But that's the way I'd say is the biggest difference between the two packages. That's really the only difference between the two packages. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and lots of content coming up on the channel. If you want more info also on our new data packages, Sims tool, and all of that, I put out a lot of educational content on it. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a full live show with Lofty on the Sims tool. I'm going to be doing a evergreen video on how to use everything with Steve Buzzard, which I'm looking forward to tomorrow. So lots of content that exists on the YouTube channel, how to use all these tools. And and more of it coming as well, guys. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't signed up at OwnersBox, use that link below to sign up. Get up to $500 bonus on your first deposit when you sign up. Check out my MLB show with Josh Engelman in a little bit. Hope to see you guys then.